3 months after the night in the mine, Sarah Chen stood before the United Nations Security Council, Lyra crystalline form gleaming beside her. The chamber was packed with delegates, scientists, and military officials, all eager to hear about humanity's first official contact with the crystalline concordat. The hybrid technology we developed under crisis, Sarah explained, gesturing to the demonstration unit on the podium, represents more than just a scientific breakthrough. It shows what we can achieve through cooperation, through combining different approaches to similar problems. Lyra's translator hummed in agreement. Our societies evolved along different paths, but with similar goals. The purists' belief in supremacy blinded them to the potential of collaboration. Their isolation was their weakness. The hybrid energy matrix pulsed with steady light, human electronics, and crystalline technology, working in perfect harmony. Already, joint research teams were exploring applications in medicine, space travel, and environmental restoration. But perhaps more important than the technology, Sarah continued, is the truth we uncovered, the history of my friend's people, and the lesson it teaches us all. Lyra's lights shifted to a deep, thoughtful blue. We forgot that greatness comes not from claiming inherent superiority, but from learning from others, from growing through connection rather than isolation. The purists' attempt to hide our true history nearly destroyed our future. In the months since the desert confrontation, the crystalline concordat had undergone significant changes. The purist faction, exposed and discredited, had been disbanded. Ancient historical records were being re-examined, lost technologies rediscovered, and past injustices acknowledged. The Earth has been accepted as a protected neutral zone, Lyra announced to the assembly, a place where different species can meet and share knowledge safely. Your planet's unique crystal deposits make it ideal for this purpose. Sarah smiled, remembering her years of lonely research in the desert. Sometimes the greatest discoveries aren't new technologies or historical revelations. Sometimes they're simply the discovery that we're not alone in our quest to understand the universe. After the presentation, they stood on the UN building's roof, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors that reminded Sarah of crystalline light. Your old workshop is quite different now, Lyra observed, referring to the joint research facility that had replaced Sarah's humble desert lab. Bigger, certainly. More advanced. Sarah leaned on the railing. But the spirit's the same. Humans and crystallines working together, proving the purists wrong every day. The young ones especially. Lyra's lights sparkled with amusement. They're so eager to learn human perspectives, human solutions. Some are even adopting your music, finding ways to translate it through crystal resonance. A peacekeeper ship shimmered into view above them, its organic crystalline form now a familiar sight in Earth's skies. It was preparing for the first joint human crystalline deep space expedition, its systems modified with hybrid technology. Did you ever imagine, Sarah asked, when you were fleeing for your life, that it would end like this? End. Lyra's translator carried a tone of gentle correction. My friend, this is merely the beginning. There are more species among the stars, more perspectives to learn from, more truths to uncover. Sarah thought about the hybrid drive systems being installed in Earth's first true starships, about the young humans and crystallines training together for joint missions. You know what I love most about this new age we're building? What's that? That we're building it together. Not as superior and inferior, not as advanced and primitive, but as equals. As friends. Lyra's crystals pulsed with warm light. The universe is vast, Sarah Chen. But perhaps that is its greatest lesson, that no matter how far apart we begin, there are always bridges to be built, connections to be made. The sun set on another day of Earth's new era, its light catching the crystal spires of the newly established Concordat Embassy. In labs and workshops around the world, humans and crystallines worked side by side, proving that the greatest power in the universe wasn't technological advancement or ancient knowledge, but the simple willingness to reach across the void and find friendship among the stars. Sarah's desert discovery had changed two civilizations forever. But as she stood watching the stars appear beside her alien friend, she knew the real discovery hadn't been the crashed ship or the hybrid technology. It had been the simple truth that no species, no civilization, no individual had to face the universe alone. The future stretched before them, vast and bright as crystal beneath the stars. All crystalline beings share it. It's how we communicate, how our technology functions. Lyra's lights pulsed anxiously, but weaponizing it, none have dared. The effect on my kind will be temporary, Sarah finished, and non-lethal. Unlike their plans for us, she made a final adjustment. Besides, your people's peaceful faction needs to know what the purists are doing. This might be our only chance to contact them. The device was elegant in its simplicity. It would transmit a modulated crystalline resonance signal through the planet's natural crystal deposits, creating a planetary-scale broadcast, one that would reveal the purists' actions to the entire crystalline concordat, and hopefully summon help before the hunters found them. Another explosion, closer. Dust rained from the tunnel ceiling. They're systematically collapsing the outer tunnels. Lyra's translator crackled, forcing us deeper. Good. Sarah smiled grimly. The deeper we are, the better this will work. Earth's crystal deposits will amplify the signal. She hefted the device, ready to make some noise. They moved deeper into the mine complex, following Sarah's modified survey scanner. The hunters' heavy footsteps echoed through the tunnels behind them, growing closer. Each crystalline warrior was a walking weapon, designed to track and eliminate with cold efficiency. Here, Sarah stopped in a large chamber filled with quartz veins. This is our broadcast station. She began setting up the device, connecting it to crystal outcroppings. How long until they reach us? Minutes. Their pace is. Lyra stopped, lights flickering in alarm. They're running. Sarah scrambled to finish the connections. The hunters must have detected their power usage. Get ready. This will be loud. The first hunter appeared in the tunnel entrance, its crystalline form blazing with combat energy. Sarah slammed the activation switch. The device hummed to life. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the quartz veins in the walls began to vibrate. The resonance built rapidly, spreading through the crystal deposits. The hunter staggered, its own crystalline structure responding to the frequency. It's working. Lyra's lights pulsed with excitement. The signal. I can feel it spreading through the planet's crystal networks. The hunter collapsed, its systems overwhelmed by the resonant frequency. Two more appeared behind it, fighting against the effect. Their weapon arms raised, energy building. Now for part 2, Sarah said, activating the second phase. The resonance shifted, carrying with it a data package, all of Lyra's evidence about the purists' crimes, their suppression of historical truth, their attempted murder of a researcher. The signal would reach every crystalline being and device in the solar system. The hunters fired. Sarah dove for cover as energy blasts superheated the air. But their shots went wild, their crystalline weapons disrupted by the resonant field. Signal at 60% coverage, Lyra reported, her own form vibrating with the transmission. They're trying to jam it, but a new sound cut through the chamber, a high, clear tone that made the hunters freeze. Above them, the stone ceiling became transparent as a massive ship phased through it. Unlike the angular hunter ship, this vessel was organic, its crystalline surface flowing like liquid light. The peacekeepers, Lyra breathed. They received the signal. They came. The hunters turned to run, but beams of pure crystal energy lanced down, freezing them in stasis fields. More peacekeepers appeared, their forms radiant and fluid compared to the hunters' harsh angles. One approached Sarah and Lyra, its translator speaking in perfect English. Researcher Lyra, your evidence has been received and verified. The purist faction's operations are being suspended. It turned to Sarah. And you, human, have demonstrated remarkable innovation and courage. Your protection of our researcher will not be forgotten. Sarah helped Lyra to her feet, supporting her still weakened form. Does this mean it's over? The Peacekeeper's crystals shimmered. This crisis, yes, but perhaps something else is beginning. Your species has shown great potential. Perhaps it is time for proper diplomatic contact. As they were led to the Peacekeeper's ship, Sarah looked at Lyra. You know, when I was working on crystal energy systems in my workshop, I never imagined it would lead to this. Lyra's lights pulsed warmly. The best discoveries often come from unexpected places, rather like finding a friend among the stars. The desert night was alive with crystalline light as the Peacekeeper ship rose into the sky, carrying with it the seeds of a new future for both species. The ground trembled as something massive landed in the desert, far closer than comfortable. Sarah's monitor showed 3 smaller signatures separating from the main ship. Hunters, Lyra confirmed, her lights pulsing with fear. Elite trackers. They can sense crystalline energy signatures. Good thing we're not using just crystalline energy then. Sarah activated her hybrid dampening field. The workshop hummed as layers of shielding engage. Traditional electromagnetic barriers interwoven with crystalline deflectors of Lyra's design. Let them try to track us through that. A high-pitched whine filled the air, making Sarah's teeth ache. They're scanning, Lyra explained, her form dimming instinctively. The hunters are cybernetically enhanced. More crystal than flesh now. It makes them powerful, but also predictable. Sarah finished. They'll expect crystalline signatures, standard human technology. Not both working together. The whine intensified. Through the workshop's small windows, Sarah caught glimpses of tall, angular figures moving in the darkness. Their bodies glowed with harsh white light, faceted surfaces reflecting the desert moon. One stopped directly outside, its crystalline head turning slowly. Sarah held her breath. The hybrid dampening field was experimental. They'd had hours to test what should have taken months to perfect. If it failed, the hunter moved on. Its heavy footsteps crunched in the desert gravel, growing fainter. They cannot sense us, Lyra whispered, amazed. The hybrid field. It works. Don't celebrate yet. Sarah checked her monitors. They'll try other methods when they realize they can't track you. We need to move before they simply start searching buildings the old-fashioned way. She triggered the workshop's rear panel to slide open, revealing the modified desert buggy they'd prepared. It looked normal enough, except for the crystalline matrix integrated into its power system, and the hybrid shielding panels disguised as roll bars. The old mine complex is 10 miles south, Sarah said, helping Lyra into the vehicle. The deep shafts are shielded naturally by mineral deposits. We can hide there, figure out our next move. They rolled out silently, the buggy's hybrid power system running nearly silent. Sarah kept them to the natural washes and ravines, avoiding the open desert where the hunter ship might spot them. The crystalline hunter's glow was visible in the distance, spreading out in a search pattern. Your species continues to surprise me, Lyra said softly as they drove. Such rapid adaptation, such willingness to embrace new concepts. Most races we've encountered. A blast of energy cut through the night, missing them by meters. Sarah swerved hard, throwing them into a dry wash. They've spotted us. Hunter ships are equipped with primitive light amplification. Lyra's translator crackled. They saw our movement. Sarah gunned the engine, crystalline power surging through human machinery. The buggy shot forward as more energy blasts lit up the night. She could see the hunters converging on their position, moving with impossible speed across the desert terrain. Hold on, Sarah shouted, turning hard toward a narrow canyon. Let's see how they handle some good old-fashioned human off-road driving. The buggy bounced and rattled as Sarah pushed it to its limits, taking turns that would shake apart a normal vehicle. But the crystalline reinforcement held, the hybrid systems adapting to each challenge. Behind them, the hunters were falling behind, their crystalline forms less suited to the rough terrain. We're going to make it, Lyra said, her lights brightening with hope. An energy blast struck the canyon wall above them, sending rocks tumbling down. Sarah swerved again, but a boulder clipped their rear quarter. The buggy spun, teetering on two wheels before crashing back down. Maybe, Sarah grunted, fighting for control. But first we have to survive the night, and something tells me these hunters aren't going to make that easy. The hunter ship's searchlight swept the canyon as more energy blasts rained down. Sarah Chen, desert engineer turned alien fugitive accomplice, pressed the accelerator and prepared for the fight of her life. The night was far from over. The old mine shaft groaned as another explosion rocked the surface. Sarah wiped grime from her face, checking the hybrid shields they'd hastily erected at the tunnel entrance. The crystalline matrix pulsed steadily, integrated with the mine's ancient electrical system in ways its builders never imagined. The geological interference is blocking their scans, Lyra observed, her own crystals dimmed to minimal output. But they will eventually search every shaft physically. Then it's time for our gamut. Sarah pulled out the device they'd spent their precious hours constructing, a patchwork of human electronics and crystalline technology. You're sure about the resonant frequency? Lyra's lights pulsed in what Sarah was beginning to recognize as amusement. No, not crazy. Perhaps prescient. The alien's tone grew serious. But I must tell you why I fled. Why they hunt me. You risk much by helping. Sarah set down her tools and pulled up a chair. Beyond the workshop walls, a helicopter thundered past, rattling the windows. Her shielding would hide their energy signatures, but she still held her breath until it passed. I am a researcher, Lyra began, studying extinct civilizations. I discovered evidence that my people, the crystalline Concordat, were not the first to achieve crystal-based technology. There were others, ancient species who, her lights dimmed, who were systematically eliminated by my people's ancestors. Sarah felt a chill. Your own people are trying to suppress this information. The purist faction. They believe in crystalline supremacy. The evidence I found suggests many of our achievements came from studying and stealing other species' innovations. It shatters their foundation myth of inherent superiority. Lyra's translator crackled with static. They would rather kill me than let this truth emerge. And now I'm harboring a fugitive with galaxy-shaking revelations. Sarah ran her hands through her hair. Perfect. A sharp knock at the workshop door made them both freeze. Ms. Chen. A male voice called. This is Agent Phillips, Department of Homeland Security. We need to speak with you about the incident in your area. Sarah's heart raced. She gestured for Lyra to stay still and quiet. The alien's lights dimmed to near invisibility. Just a minute, Sarah called, quickly throwing a tarp over Lyra. She took a deep breath and opened the door. Two men in black suits stood outside, flanked by military personnel. Ms. Chen, the older agent said, we're investigating an unusual atmospheric event. May we come in? Sarah blocked the doorway. My workshop contains sensitive proprietary technology. I'd be happy to answer questions out here. Ma'am, this is a matter of national security. And this is a matter of intellectual property rights. Unless you have a warrant specifically clearing you to examine my research, I'm not letting you in. The agents exchanged looks. Did you witness anything unusual today? Any lights, sounds, debris? I heard something that sounded like thunder and saw some lights over the ridge. I assumed it was military testing. It usually is out here. That's why I chose this location. Minimal interference with my work. Agent Phillips studied her face. If you notice anything unusual, you'll contact us immediately. He handed her a card. Day or night. Of course. Sarah took the card, maintaining a calm expression. After they left, she sagged against the door. That was too close. You lied to your authorities for me, Lyra observed, her lights strengthening as Sarah removed the tarp. Why? Sarah considered the question. Because I believe in truth, even uncomfortable truth. And because she gestured to her workshop full of crystal experiments. You're proof I was right, that this technology has real potential. Maybe together we can do something good with it. Lyra's crystals brightened. Perhaps, but first we must survive. The purists will have tracked my ship's trajectory. They will come. Then we better be ready. Sarah turned to her computers. Tell me everything you can about crystalline technology. If we combine it with human innovations, she smiled, we might just surprise them. Through the night, human and alien worked together, sharing knowledge that could change both their civilizations or get them both killed. The desert wind howled outside, carrying dust and secrets across the empty landscape. In Sarah's workshop, an unlikely partnership forged itself in the darkness, preparing for the storm they both knew was coming. The warning came at sunset. Lyra's crystals suddenly flared bright red, her three eyes widening in alarm. They're here, she whispered through the translator. A purist hunter ship just entered your atmosphere. Sarah quickly checked her modified sensor array, a hybrid of her technology and Lyra's knowledge. The alien ship appeared as a twisting pattern of energy signatures, descending rapidly. How long do we have? Minutes. Their tracking systems are efficient. Lyra struggled to stand, her recently healed crystal matrix gleaming in the workshop's lights. You must let me leave. I won't have your death on my conscience. Not happening. Sarah was already activating the emergency protocols they'd spent the last day preparing. Remember the plan. Human ingenuity plus crystalline tech. They won't expect that. Sarah Chen wiped sweat from her brow as she adjusted the solar panels outside her remote workshop. The Nevada desert stretched endlessly around her, its emptiness perfect for her experimental energy research. The morning silence shattered as a piercing whine cut through the air, followed by a thunderous crash that shook the ground beneath her feet. Through the dust cloud rising over the next ridge, flashes of blue-white light pulsed rhythmically. Sarah grabbed her emergency kit and scrambled up the rocky slope. Her engineering background screamed that whatever she'd find wouldn't be from Earth. The crash site sprawled across the desert floor, wreckage unlike anything she'd seen before. The hull seemed to breathe, its metallic surface rippling with geometric patterns that shifted and flowed like liquid crystal. But what caught her attention was the trail of luminescent fluid leading away from the wreckage. She followed the trail to a shallow cave. Inside, pressed against the rock wall, was a being that defied explanation. Humanoid in basic shape, but its skin was translucent, shot through with crystalline formations that pulsed with failing light. The alien's eyes met hers, 3 of them, arranged in a triangle, and Sarah saw intelligence there, and fear. I won't hurt you, Sarah said softly, raising her empty hands. The alien's crystalline structures flickered weakly as it tried to move, revealing a deep gash in its side leaking the same luminescent fluid she tracked. The alien spoke, its voice like wind through crystal chimes. From a device at its throat came halting English. Pursued. Dangerous. Help. It slumped forward, the lights within its crystalline body dimming. Sarah's mind raced. The alien was clearly dying, but its biology was completely foreign. Yet as an engineer who specialized in crystal-based energy systems, she recognized patterns in the alien structure similar to her research. Perhaps that wasn't coincidence. She pulled supplies from her kit and got to work. The alien's wounds weren't so different from cracked crystal matrices she'd repaired before. Using a combination of quick-set epoxy and conductive gel, she managed to seal the worst of the damage. The alien's lights steadied, though remained dim. I'm Sarah, she said as she worked. I'm going to help you, but we need to move. Someone else probably saw you crash. The alien's translation device crackled. Lyra, my name in your sounds. Thank you, but helping me brings danger. They will come. As if summoned by those words, the distant sound of helicopters echoed across the desert. Sarah made her decision. Can you walk? My workshop is shielded. It's where I test experimental tech. We might be able to hide you there. Lyra struggled to stand, her crystalline form catching the sunlight in mesmerizing patterns. Limited mobility. Systems damage. Then we improvise. Sarah pulled out her collapsible equipment cart. It's not elegant, but it'll have to do. As they made their slow way toward the workshop, Sarah's mind whirled with questions. But one thing was clear. She'd just become part of something much bigger than herself. The helicopters grew louder, and she caught glimpses of black shapes against the desert sky. They reached the workshop just as vehicles appeared on the horizon. Sarah sealed them inside her shielded lab, designed to prevent energy emissions from her experiments from being detected. As she helped Lyra onto a work table, she knew her life had irrevocably changed. Rest, she told Lyra, whose lights had dimmed to barely a flicker. I'll figure out how to help you properly. Just don't die on me, okay? I've got too many questions. Lyra's translator hummed. Dangerous knowledge, but perhaps right human to find. The alien's 3 eyes closed as emergency medical nanites from Sarah's lab began their work, adapting to Lyra's unique biology. Outside, the sound of vehicles and voices grew. Sarah Chen, experimental energy engineer, now found herself harboring an injured alien fugitive. And somehow, she knew this was only the beginning. Sarah spent the night modifying her crystal energy matrices to help stabilize Lyra's failing systems. The alien researcher lay on her workbench, crystalline form now glowing steadily but still weak. Outside, search teams combed the desert, their flashlight beams occasionally sweeping past the workshop's covered windows. Your technology, Lyra's translator hummed, watching Sarah work. It mirrors our basic principles. Remarkable convergent development. Sarah carefully adjusted a connection. That's why I could help you. I've been experimenting with crystal-based energy storage for years. Everyone thought I was crazy, chasing theoretical applications. She smiled grimly. Guess I wasn't so crazy after all.